Hi everyone, and welcome to week 13, in which I will be going over the final paper instructions. Now you want to make sure to take into account that this final paper is worth 300 points, and which is roughly a third of your grade. So you want to make sure that you are incorporating all the feedback that you have received from your annotated bibliographies and your presentations in order to construct the best possible final paper that you can. So here are the nuts and bolts. Your final paper will be 7 to 10 pages, and you'll be using all the materials that you have gathered for your presentation to write a clear, persuasive argument. Be sure to incorporate, of course, any feedback that you received on your peer review for the paper, as well as your peer critiques from the presentations. As you should know, by now hopefully, papers should adhere to MLA formatting. See the OWL at Purdue for helpful tips. And again, many of you fell very short of correctly formatting not only your quotations, but also your sources for your annotated bibliographies in MLA. I cannot stress enough the importance of accurately citing your information. If, for example, I wanted to go and find a particular source through the library's database and could not, then you might be charged with plagiarism. So you need to accurately cite all of your information correctly. As you know, you may not write about certain topics. Part of your scholarly sources, which you must have at least 7 to 10, must include 5 journal articles from scholarly/peer-reviewed sources, 2 to 3 scholarly books, i.e. textbooks and other reference materials do not count as scholarly sources. One of the best ways to find out what kind of book you have, if it's scholarly or popular, is to first look at the press. If the press is from a university, such as Harvard or U of M or anything of that nature, then you know it's definitely scholarly. If you're having more difficult time finding out if the press is scholarly or not, look at the credentials of the author. And of course, going back to our research videos, you'll want to consider what kind of language is being used. Is it more general or is it more popular? Does it have a scholarly quality to it? For this part of the paper, you may also use 1 to 2 credible websites. No Wikipedia and no .coms will be accepted. If I see either of these, you will automatically fail your paper. Okay, credible websites, usually you can find those either through .gov, which stands for government. If you go through our library's database and say you wanted statistics from the Center for Disease Control or the Department of Education or anything of that nature, that's what you would use for government websites. Those are not only bipartisan, they're nonpartisan. Those are just that's just information that the government collects. .edus stand for education and are usually sponsored by universities, and therefore the people who post to them, generally speaking, are of a credible scholarly nature. The next one, .org, which stands for organization, is a little sketchier, so you'll want to absolutely make sure that what you're looking at is is scholarly. Remember, organizations, they have affiliations, they are biased, and remember that being an advocate for something is not necessarily the same as being an expert on something. Therefore, example, the ASPCA or the Humane Society, while advocates for animal rights, does not necessarily mean that they are experts in, say, veterinarian medicine or in the scientific community. So again, you'll want to be very careful when discerning what websites are credible and which ones are not. The rest of the instructions for the paper should look fairly familiar because they're the same instructions that you saw for both your annotated bibliographies and your presentations. That is, of course, invention comes first, and here you're considering what your goals are and how you can bring in the values of the audience without looking like you are too extreme in one way or another. After you nail down your issue, you want to make sure that you break it up into smaller components so it's easy to follow. And you'll want to, of course, incorporate all the rhetorical tools that we've been using throughout the semester. After you've constructed your basic argument, you'll need to arrange it into a cohesive presentation when presenting your argument. Again, remember, you're moving from ethos to logos to pathos. I can't stress this enough. So your first part of your paper should be you demonstrating your practical experience. Some teachers frown upon the use of I as a pronoun, but I actually encourage it because we are following a classical persuasive model. And how can you establish your credibility without using I? Now, again, the logos is the meat of your argument. Facts and figures are one thing, but you have to tell me why they're important. You also have to equally weigh what both you and your opponents have to say. Make sure that you keep your brief history succinct and relevant to the immediate argument, and beware of tangential information that distracts from rather than adds to your goals. Prove your point logically and smack down your opponent's argument. And of course, pathos comes at the end, where you want to consider what emotions you want to rouse in your audience to get them to act on the choices that you are offering. Your paper should follow this structure. The introduction is where you get the audience on your side. Your narration offers a brief history of the issue at hand and the facts that go along with that. Then you're going to offer where your opponents and you agree and disagree. Again, the scholarly material you'll be working with has been peer-reviewed by experts, so not all arguments are completely illogical or stupid. You must present yourself as fair and balanced, as reasonable. Now, the proof is where your actual argument goes. Now, this is not high school writing. Perhaps you were taught in high school that your introductory paragraph should have at the end of it, in this paper, I will argue, ... and here is my, 3 examples of evidence. For college writing, you actually want to consider all of your evidence before you actually make your argument. So I should not see any phrases in the first part of your paper that say, in this paper I will argue blah, blah, blah. You want it to appear that you only came at your argument after weighing all the evidence at hand. So it actually comes near the end and should not be self-announced. That is, we should already know what it is you're arguing for. Statements like, I will argue, I will do this, I will prove, like the announced emotion, if you remember from earlier in our text, make the argument less persuasive and make us less open to those arguments. You'll move from where your actual argument and evidence go to the refutation part, which is where, again, you say, basically, in the face of all this overwhelming evidence, you can see how X proponents of this are not as reasonable or don't offer us as many choices as this other thing that I'm offering. And then, of course, in your conclusion, you want to restate the most important points of your argument and rouse your audience's emotions. Your final papers will be due December 18th by 5 p.m. via the Safe Assignment link on Blackboard, which is, of course, under Week 15's content. No late papers will be accepted. I have to turn around and grade almost 100 papers within 2 days, so I will not be accepting any late papers. Give yourself plenty of time to upload your final assignments. I would hate to see anyone have to fail the course because they did not allow themselves enough time at the end of the semester to submit their work. As always, I am available via email, and of course, as I mentioned in our previous lecture, I have set up a special forum on discussion board for questions that are specifically related, as you can see right here, to our final papers. So please avail yourselves of any of those options if any questions or concerns do arise. Good luck, and I will, of course, be available to you if you need me.